Hey, I'm Vadim, and unlike many YouTube channels with Reddit stories, I'm actually a real person, not just some AI. These are my genuine thoughts and reactions, so grab a snack, sit back, and enjoy the stories. And try not to judge my gameplay too harshly. Let's get into the stories. My younger sister is getting married to her 36-year-old high school teacher in a few days, and everyone around me seems completely fine with it. I am not fine with it. I haven't been fine with it since the moment I found out, and no matter how many times I've tried to explain why, nobody in my family wants to hear a single word I have to say. Let me give you the full picture because this didn't come out of nowhere. My sister is 19 years old. She graduated from high school just about a year ago. Almost immediately after graduation, and I mean almost immediately, like the ink on her diploma was barely dry, she sat the family down and told us she had been dating her former teacher. The man is 36 years old. He has been teaching at her school for years. He was her teacher while she was his student. And now, he wants to marry her. I was shocked. I was angry. I am still angry. But what made it worse, so much worse, was that everyone around me reacted with happiness. My parents smiled and congratulated them. My relatives nodded approvingly. The whole town, which is small and close-knit and the kind of place where everyone knows everyone's business, seemed to think this was a perfectly lovely story. A young girl and an older, established man. How romantic. How sweet. I wanted to scream. Looking back now, the signs were there long before any of this came out. This man divorced his wife 2 years ago, right around the time my sister was 16, 17 years old and still sitting in his classroom. After the divorce, he started paying what I can only describe as unusual attention to her. He would speak to her after class. He gave her extra help with her studies. He made a point of being around her in ways that, at the time, I thought were strange, but couldn't quite name. When I brought it up to my sister, she had an explanation ready. She told me he was simply helping her because she was the top student in her class. And she was. She genuinely was brilliant. One of those students that teachers remember. So I told myself I was reading too much into it. I told myself I was being overprotective. I ignored the feeling in my gut that something was deeply wrong. I should have trusted that feeling. A few months ago, only a short time after they announced they were dating, they announced they were engaged. The relationship went from "we're together" to "we're getting married" at a speed that left my head spinning. I tried talking to my parents again about the age gap, about the power dynamic, about the fact that this man had been her teacher while she was a teenager, sitting in his classroom. They didn't want to hear it. They told me I was being dramatic. They told me she was an adult and could make her own choices. They told me he was a good man with a stable job and that I should be happy for her. I talked to my sister directly. She told me she loves him. She told me she is happy. She looked me in the eye and said it with complete conviction. And I believe that she believes it. And that's exactly what breaks my heart. Because the version of love and happiness she has been shown was carefully constructed by a man who started paying her special attention when she was a child in his care. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. She was never given the chance to find out. I feel useless. I feel angry at everyone around me. But most of all, I feel angry at myself. Because I was the one person who saw it coming, and I still wasn't able to stop it. That's a weight that doesn't go away. The wedding happened. I went back and forth on whether to attend. Part of me wanted to refuse entirely, to make a statement, to not give the whole thing the dignity of my presence. But in the end, I couldn't do that to my sister. She didn't ask for my judgment that day. She asked for her older sibling. So I went, and I sat there, and I watched the whole thing happen with my blood quietly boiling under the surface the entire time. I couldn't look the teacher in the face. Every time someone walked up to congratulate them, I felt something tighten in my chest. I smiled when I had to and said as little as possible, and spent most of the reception reminding myself why I was there. Not for him, not for my parents, not for the town. For her. When I told my sister I was leaving, not just the wedding, but the town entirely, she cried. I held her and told her that I wasn't angry at her, not even a little. I made it as clear as I possibly could that she could contact me at any time, for any reason, no matter what was happening, and I would be there. No questions, no judgment, just there. My parents had not allowed her to have her own phone. She'd had to use the landline to call anyone. I bought her a phone before I left, gave it to her privately, and told her to keep it charged. Told her that I would call regularly, and that she should never hesitate to reach out if something felt wrong, even if she couldn't explain exactly what. I moved to a city where I'd already lined up job interviews and had been offered a position. I needed distance from all of it, from my parents, from the relatives, from the neighbors who all stood there smiling at a wedding that made me feel sick. I needed to be somewhere I could breathe. The thought that stayed with me, the one that still sits heavy even now, is that my sister was a star student. The kind of student who could have gone anywhere, done anything, built a life that was entirely and completely her own. I used to imagine her at a university in a big city, studying something she loved, becoming someone extraordinary. And now, she is going to be a housewife in the town where she grew up, married to a man who was supposed to protect her, not pursue her. I didn't say any of that to her. I kept it to myself. I kept everything warm and open and non-confrontational, because the last thing I wanted was to give anyone a reason to cut me off from her. I need to be the person she calls when things go wrong. So I smiled, and I hugged her, and I left. A year passed. I kept my promise. I called my sister regularly. I visited once a month without fail. Her husband didn't love that. I could see it in the way he watched our conversations, the way he hovered at the edge of the room. But he tolerated it, because he wanted to appear reasonable. Men like him always want to appear reasonable. In the city, I threw myself into work. My boss turned out to be an extraordinary woman. Sharp, warm, someone who listened to me properly and gave me the kind of support and practical wisdom I desperately needed. She became a mentor. She told me to call whenever I needed to talk. Having her in my corner meant more than I can adequately explain. Meanwhile, back home, things were becoming clearer. A few months into the marriage, my sister stopped going out. Her independence shrank. The friends she'd had drifted away, partly because her husband made socializing difficult, partly because of the dynamic he was quietly constructing around her. He was turning her world into something very small, with him at the center of it. But because I had been consistent, because I had never missed a call, never canceled a visit, never given him a clean reason to frame me as a problem, he couldn't cut me out entirely. Our relationship was too established. My sister trusted me too much. There was nothing he could point to and say, "This person is a threat." I made sure of that. Then came the pressure about children. It started as hints. Little comments dropped here and there about family, about the future, about how time moves fast. I had already spoken to my sister early on about this, told her firmly and clearly that she should not have a baby until she had been married for at least a few years and knew without any doubt that this was the life she wanted. She had a contraceptive implant. I had told her to keep it. The hints became direct. He told her he wanted children. She told him she wanted to wait. He began pushing her to have the implant removed. That was when I got in the car and drove back. I have always been polite to him during visits, deliberately, carefully polite, because I know that the moment I give him ammunition, I lose access to my sister. So I sat down with him calmly and brought up what was happening. I told him, in measured and reasonable language, that pressuring a young woman to alter her body on his timeline was not acceptable. He did not respond well to that. The argument escalated. He said he had a right to have children with his wife. I didn't back down. He got frustrated. The kind of frustrated that men like him get when someone doesn't immediately yield to them. And he took a swing at me. It didn't connect properly. Mine did. He fell backwards and started shouting. I stood there and felt, for the first time in 2 years, something that resembled relief. He called the police and told them I had assaulted him. What he didn't know, what I had made a point of ensuring he never knew, was that I record every visit. I use a small device that captures audio cleanly and without any obvious indication. I have done this from the very first time I stepped inside their home, because I always knew that one day I might need it. I called my boss. She sent a lawyer. When the police arrived, my sister stood beside me. I saw something shift in her face the moment he hit me, or tried to. Something clicked into place. She told the officers what had happened. With the recording, with her testimony, with the lawyer present, the situation resolved itself quickly. I told him that my sister was leaving with me. He tried to argue. The lawyer made clear what the consequences of blocking her exit would be. He let her go. She has been staying with me for the past week. My parents are furious. They don't seem particularly troubled by the fact that their son-in-law took a swing at their daughter. They want my sister to go back. They have been calling. She doesn't speak to them unless I'm in the room. We are going to begin divorce proceedings within the next few days. I know how lucky we are, that this happened as soon as it did, that my sister is young enough to rebuild, that I had the support of someone like my boss, that the recording exists. I know that for a lot of people in situations like this, none of those things fall into place. I think about that a lot. But right now, my sister is sitting in the next room. She is safe. She is beginning to understand, slowly and in her own time, what was done to her. And she has her whole life ahead of her. I always believed she was going to be someone extraordinary. I still believe that. I'm just glad she's going to get the chance to find out for herself.